You spill coffee on your clean shirt. You sigh deeply. You immediately tell yourself that this is going to be a terrible day. You walk outside. You get stuck in traffic. You instantly complain about the city's traffic management to anyone who will listen. That is not just venting. That is your brain running a software loop it has spent years perfecting. What if this habit is actually rewriting your neural pathways? What if your daily complaints are slowly shrinking your brain's capacity for happiness? Your mind is a highly efficient machine. It always seeks the path of least resistance. When you face a minor inconvenience, complaining feels natural. It feels like a release of pressure. But science suggests that this release is an illusion. It is actually a reinforcement loop. Each time you complain, you are training your brain to see the world as hostile. How often do you catch yourself doing this? Think about the last time something went wrong. Did your mind immediately look for someone or something to blame? This reaction is governed by Hebb's law, a neuroscientific principle discovered by Donald Hebb in 1949. His law states that neurons that fire together wire together. In plain English, this means that the more you repeat a thought pattern, the stronger the physical pathway in your brain becomes. If you constantly complain, your brain builds a superhighway for negativity. It makes it easier for you to feel annoyed in the future. It makes positive thoughts harder to access. You are essentially building a brain that is optimized for frustration. Is that really the kind of mind you want to live with? Let us look at Hebb's law in action. Think of your brain like a lush green meadow. The first time you have a negative thought, you walk across the grass, leaving a faint, barely visible path. If you walk the same way every day, the grass dies. A dirt path forms. Eventually, that dirt path becomes a paved road, then a highway, then a multi-lane freeway. Complaining is the act of driving down that freeway at 90 miles an hour. It is fast, easy, and automatic. Your brain does not have to think. It just follows the road. But what happens when you decide to take a different route? You have to push through the high grass. You have to clear the brush. It is slow and exhausting. This is why the first few days of silence feel so unnatural. Your brain is screaming at you to get back on the freeway. It is begging for the easy chemical hit of venting. Will you listen to it? Or will you keep walking through the grass? The damage goes deeper than just your mood. A landmark study from Stanford University analyzed the physical effects of chronic stress and complaining on the brain. The researchers discovered that complaining releases cortisol, which is your body's primary stress hormone. This hormone is useful when you are running from a predator. It is highly destructive when it constantly drips into your bloodstream during everyday annoyances. The Stanford team found that chronic exposure to cortisol actually shrinks the hippocampus. This is the crucial part of your brain responsible for learning, memory, and emotional control. When your hippocampus shrinks, your ability to handle future stress declines. You become more reactive. You become less resilient. Is a minor traffic delay really worth sacrificing your brain cells? Let us break down what cortisol actually does to your body. When you complain, your brain perceives a threat. It does not distinguish between a saber-toothed tiger and a slow internet connection. It simply floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline to prepare you for battle. Your blood pressure rises. Your heart rate increases. Your immune system shuts down to conserve energy. This is a brilliant survival mechanism for short-term emergencies. But when you complain 20 times a day about your emails, your coffee, or your colleagues, you are keeping your body in a state of constant low-grade panic. Your brain is bathed in a toxic chemical soup. The Stanford researchers showed that this constant exposure leads to the physical destruction of brain cells in the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the very region that allows you to adapt to new situations and solve problems. By complaining about your problems, you are physically damaging the tool you need to solve them. Does that sound like a winning strategy to you? This is where the 30-day challenge begins. Imagine what happens when you completely cut off the supply of complaints. When you stop complaining, you force your brain to build new roads. The first week is always the hardest. You will suddenly realize how much of your daily conversation is anchored in negativity. You complain about the weather. You complain about your boss. You complain about the price of groceries. These small comments act as social glue. We often bond with others by sharing our grievances. What happens when you refuse to participate in this ritual? You might find yourself standing in silence during lunch breaks. You might feel a strange social discomfort. This is the friction of growth. Your brain is begging to use its old superhighways. It wants the easy route of dissatisfaction. Can you withstand the temptation to fit in by complaining? By day 10, the silence begins to yield something new. You start to notice the gap between a trigger and your reaction. The psychologist Viktor Frankl famously wrote that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our growth and our freedom. When you stop complaining, you are reclaiming that space. You stop letting external events dictate your internal state. You start to look at your shirt and realize it is just coffee. It is not a cosmic conspiracy against your day. Your brain begins to quiet down. The constant drip of cortisol slows to a halt. Your hippocampus finally gets a chance to recover. Have you ever felt the mental clarity that comes after a long period of quiet reflection? This clarity is the result of your brain entering a state of repair. By week 3, your explanatory style begins to shift. This concept was pioneered by Dr. Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology. He discovered that how you explain bad events to yourself determines your level of resilience. Pessimists view bad events as permanent, pervasive, and personal. They think a ruined shirt means their whole day is ruined, their life is messy, and they are always unlucky. When you ban complaining, you force your mind to see events as temporary, specific, and external. You realize the coffee stain is temporary. It is specific to that shirt. It is external to your worth as a person. This is what Seligman calls learned optimism. It is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about describing reality in a way that preserves your power. Do you see how much energy you save when you stop fighting things you cannot change? Let us examine Seligman's explanatory styles in detail. When something goes wrong, how do you explain it to yourself? A pessimist uses 3 words: always, everything, and me. They believe the problem will last forever, it will ruin everything in their life, and it is entirely their fault or directed at them personally. This is the classic complainant's mindset. If their car does not start, they think their car is always broken, their whole day is ruined, and they are cursed with bad luck. This explanatory style leads directly to a state called learned helplessness, where you believe you have no control over your life. When you stop complaining, you force a shift in your explanatory style. You begin to use 3 different words: temporary, specific, and external. You tell yourself the car battery is dead today, which is temporary. It only affects your morning commute, which is specific. The battery is old, which is external. Suddenly, you are no longer a helpless victim of the universe. You are just a person who needs to call a mechanic. Can you feel the shift in weight when you stop carrying the burden of helplessness? By day 25, your friends might start to notice a change in you. They might ask why you seem so calm. You are no longer participating in the collective venting sessions. You are no longer validating their complaints with your own. You have broken Hebb's law in your own mind. The old neural pathways are beginning to wither from disuse. The new pathways, focused on solutions and acceptance, are becoming the default. You have rewired your brain's baseline. You have built a stronger, more resilient hippocampus. You have reclaimed your mental energy. What will you do with all that extra bandwidth? You will use it to build the life you actually want. You will focus on what you can control. You will let go of the rest. On day 30, you will look back at the person you were a month ago. You will realize that the world has not changed. The traffic is still slow. The weather is still unpredictable. The coffee still spills. But your brain reacts differently now. You no longer see these events as personal attacks. You see them as neutral occurrences. You spill coffee on your shirt. You take a breath. You smile and realize it is just a day.